Welcome into the Lucas and Lucas podcast. It is April 2nd, not April 1st. And moments before we started recording, I had to break the news to my good friend Lucas Frankel that Michael Strahan's gap teeth still do exist. The man had fallen for the April Fool's joke and had believed it for an additional 16 hours. So before we get into all the sports stuff we have to get to, Frank, how disappointed are you in yourself and in Michael Strahan for pulling the ultimate prank on you?
Well, first off, it looked incredibly real. Anyone who watched that video that didn't think that was real, then you're just lying because it couldn't have looked more real. And as we know, Strahan is loaded. He's got all the means to do anything he would like to do in the world. So if it's in his mind that he wants to, straighten his teeth, he can get it done in the blink of an eye, probably like in an hour or two. They can go in there, you get the best, dental team in the world, and they could do whatever he would like. And it looked really, really real. And he didn't tweet it on April 1st. This thing happened like a week before April 1st. So I didn't even, this could be an April Fool's joke thing didn't even cross my mind. I hate April Fools. It is the worst thing that's ever happened. I'm so over people making April Fool's jokes, especially on social media, because it just, you don't know what to believe because you can't read their expressions, and I'm not a fan of it. And yes, I do feel like a fool, but Michael Strahan, you're officially dead to me. I'm not a fan anymore. Not that I ever was a real fan, but yeah, it's over. We're done.
It was the ultimate deep fake, and people could doctor videos to look like almost anything now. So it really is impossible to believe anything you see on the internet. And Frankel, who was one of the most diligent researchers I know, still fell for it, which is it's just kind of funny because I do know you hate April Fools. And I saw the Roy Williams news yesterday, Frank, and I refused to believe it until he actually got on stage and said he was retiring. The news should not be able to happen on April 1st. News should not be able to happen because I refuse to trust anything out of fear of falling victim like you had just moments ago.
Yeah, it's a sad part of the state of the world in 2021 is this social media stuff, and what can you believe, what can't you believe, and it's really unfortunate if you had to ask me.
And I got a little bit of a beef with Michael Strahan because now people are going to question tweets from verified sources on Twitter like myself. So Strahan's putting a little damper on the blue checkmark brigade that is supposed to be your verified source of information. And now, people may not believe me when I'm not pulling any April Fool's pranks on anybody. Yeah. Everything I tweet is real, including my hatred for the Yankees after one game.
The people that aren't allowed to, we'll get to the Yankees in a second here. The people that aren't allowed to make April Fool's jokes on Twitter are Adam Schefter, Adrian Wojnarowski, and Jeff Passan. It is against those guys.
Schefter did, though, yesterday.
What did he do?
He tweeted, "Oh my goodness, at Mina Kimes, do you see what's happening?" And then she on live TV, and then she freaked out on live TV on Highly Questioned. It was actually a really elaborate April Fool's. It was actually really funny.
Well, I didn't see that. So, but in terms of breaking news, the Jets have traded for Russell Wilson. If Schefter tweeted that, that's not funny. Who get joy out of that? But as you've mentioned, the New York Yankees, and listen, I am not one to overreact from one game.
I am.
But that was the single worst opening day performance that I can ever remember from this team.
Wait, but before you continue, you said I'm not going to overreact, and the next three words out of your mouth were the single worst ever. So yes, continue. And I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree with you, but continue.
Well, the thing is, I am not overreacting. I'm speaking the truth. As we've seen with the New York Yankees since Games 6 and 7 of the 2017 American League Championship Series, when push comes to shove and they have to get a hit from somebody, they come up short every single time. They couldn't score against the Red Sox in 2018 and 2019. This past year, or 2 years ago, they came up small when it mattered most in the playoffs. Last year against the Rays, they couldn't score, and it's Judge coming up small, striking out, Stanton swinging and missing. And this game just felt like what it's going to be like. Because the Yankees are going to make the playoffs. They're going to win the division. They're going to have the really, really high moments during the course of the year. But when you get to playoff time and you're facing that elite pitching, there's going to be a situation where you're losing 2-1. You need a big hit from Stanton. You need a big hit from Judge. And what are they going to do? They're going to ground to a double play with the bases loaded. They're going to strike out. They're going to ground out to third and with a runner on third and one out. And this is going to be the theme of the season, coming up small in big moments when it matters most, because when it comes time for the playoffs, you cannot rely on the home run to get you where you want to go. And it was one of the most frustrating, and I'm just telling you right now, this is going to be the theme of the season. And any hope I had for the Yankees this year is gone. I just can't see this team, especially with a team like the Dodgers in the same sport, being able to overcome that and win a World Series this year. I just think that there's a 0% chance the Yankees win a World Series this year. I'm going that far. They have no chance this year as presently constituted.
So I watched the third inning on yesterday. So I missed the first two. I watched the third inning on. And one of my biggest frustrations with the Yankees in recent memory, not last year, not just this year, but over the last couple of years, is they don't have anyone, or they don't have enough guys who can at least put the ball in play. And in playoff baseball, when you face elite pitching, the Yankees have consistently struck out 12 to 16 times a game, and that is, in my mind, not winning baseball. I understand the long ball is the way of the sport now, and everyone wants to hit 30 home runs and have 7 different guys throughout their lineup just be able to mash baseballs 450 feet. I do not believe that is necessarily conducive to winning baseball. Garrett Cole pitched solid enough. They had opportunities late in the game to win the game and come out with a win. You look in the 8th inning, top of your order up, 2 on, LeMahieu. He got on base. It was bases loaded for Judge in the 8th, right? It was bases loaded. We grounds into double play.
I believe it was the 7th. Yeah, bases loaded, 1 out. And
everything, whatever it was. Yeah, bases loaded. He takes the 2-0 pitch that was right in his sweet zone. I understand taking, but then you don't have to swing at the exact next pitch if it's not where you want it. You take that pitch so you could continue the at-bat, see more pitches, and then Judge, he likes to hit the high pitch, middle belt-high fastball. That's the pitch you swing at. Don't swing at a low fastball on the very next pitch, which he shoots right to the third baseman. It's not like he didn't hit the ball hard, but horrible directionally hitting, double play, inning over. They have the 10th inning, runner on second to start. No one touched the baseball. I think there was one foul ball in the inning. The closer for the Blue Jays threw 12 pitches, 1 ball, 11 strikes, 2 were fouled, and back-to-back-to-back strikeouts. It is beyond frustrating, and it's one game, so I don't want to completely overreact, but I am with you. I do think you can tell the makeup of a team early, and I don't think you need 20 games, 40 games, 50 games to get an idea of the mental makeup of this team. And the mental makeup that I saw last night, and you may disagree, is it's not a tough enough team to grind out winning at bats late in the game.
I mean, this isn't new for this year. This has been a recurring theme, and
that's what I said. This is my issue the last couple of years. It's the same roster again, and they keep running into the same elite pitching in the playoffs and having the same results again, and again.
Literally insane. They're literally insane running the same team out there year in and year out and not making any changes. And it's going to get really ugly over these next few days. These next few games are going to be a telltale sign of like really where this team stands and whether, because if Corey Kluber and Tyon like don't look like competent pitchers, and I mean they had decent spring training, so I guess you have to hold out hope that they will be able to, pitch relatively decently at the very least. But if they struggle, I mean, the Yankees just they don't have options. Like they are relying so heavily on these guys. Corey Kluber, who pitched 1 inning of baseball last year, has 2 combined wins over the previous 2 seasons, and Jameson Taillon, who's coming off 2 Tommy John surgeries. I mean, they are putting and investing and relying and counting on so much from these guys who have proven to be so unreliable. It's honestly baffling that Brian Cashman is rolling this team out there. You're the New York freaking Yankees. Like this is not an acceptable roster if you're trying to win a World Series. It's just not, and it's unfortunate because the Yankee fans like me really want to see them win. It's been 12 years since you won a World Series. It's ridiculous, longest drought of our lifetime, and it's just really disappointing because I really want to see them win, and I just can't see it happening unless something extremely unforeseen and dramatic happens.
Well, we'll find out about the pitching in the coming days. And one start's not an indicator of the entire season. But Kluber has to look competent, and Taillon has to look competent to at least give us some faith that the rotation will develop into a dependable rotation 1 through 5 later on in the season. I want to see lineup changes, and it's not shuffling guys in the batting order. I want to see some of these guys out. I want to bring in some higher average contact hitters to put alongside the power guys they have. And I understand, when Judge came into the league, he was almost a 300 hitter. And I know walks and, average doesn't matter as much anymore, but I think it does. Like, dudes have to be able to put the ball in play. And I'm not looking at the lineup right now, but I would absolutely shuffle some around and try to get some more contact guys in just to put guys on base and have the ability to play a little bit of small ball if, God forbid, you need it in the 10th inning of a game where you have a runner who starts on second base and you strike out 3 consecutive at-bats with your 3, 4, and 5 hitters. Also, last thing, Stanton, we talked about this yesterday, Frank. He's the worst player in baseball. I absolutely hate him. And I want to ask you a question. What is your price of hatred? Would you trade positions with Giancarlo Stanton? Would you willing to be the most hated man in New York City and be booed in front of your home fans every game and consistently come up tiny in the clutchest moments for $38.7 million a year or whatever it is? What's your price for hatred?
I mean, when you're making that amount of money, I mean, you just keep your mouth shut. You get your paycheck, and whenever you're done, you get your private island in the Dominican Republic, and you live or wherever, and you live your life. So, I mean, honestly, I would take the money because he is making an absurd amount of money for such poor, pathetic performance that, I mean, you got to give him props for being able to do that and suckering the Yankees into taking on that deal. But yeah, that's where I stand on.
I think I could go through 2 years of the hatred, and then I would have to give all the money back and be like, someone please like me, like just one person clap for me once a year. So
yeah, he's the complete. But by the way, I was from I know we're talking about like how disappointed we are and whatnot, but like when Talkman stole 2 bases in the 9th inning, I believe it was the bottom of the 9th inning yesterday.
Yeah.
And I lost. I hadn't seen that in 15 years. Like stealing second, stealing third. He had run on third, 1 out. And I thought they were gonna win, and I was so excited. And then just to go from that to where we are now, it's like it's almost like a major tragedy that occurred during the Yankee game because they had the game won. Talkman was like single-handedly winning the game for them. And then
he's not that fast either, right? Like, I'm not crazy.
What they were saying on the broadcast, like they're not holding him on. Like he could just literally walk to the second base. He could walk to third base, and
I feel like you could have stolen that pitcher.
Yeah, I just thought that I love small ball. I love manufacturing runs, and honestly, if Talkman's gonna do that, play him over Stanton and be done with
it. Yes, absolutely, dude. I don't understand. I just don't understand what Stanton, like, he's almost a pinch hitter. Like, he's really just a glorified pinch hitter that will get lucky 1 out of every 5 at bats and smoke a 600-foot home run. But to have him in the game for 4 at bats, he's gonna strike out and leave 7 guys on base every game. It's guaranteed.
Unbelievable. By the way, all right, moving on. So literally right after we concluded our podcast 1 week ago, there was monster news from the National Football League. The 49ers moved up from the number 12 pick to the number 3 pick. The Dolphins moved from 3 to 12 to 6, and the Eagles are now moved from 6 to 12. Hope you got all that. So bunch of shuffling there. And the huge debate or predicament or however you want to describe it is, why would the 49ers seemingly go all in on a quarterback? Because that's what it's when they move up to 12 to 3, they have their eyes on a quarterback.
Shanahan said they're taking a quarterback too. He literally said they're taking a quarterback.
When Trevor Lawrence is going first, and unless I'm crazy, why would you, quote unquote, mortgage your future for a Justin Fields or a trade? Because the Jets are taking Zach Wilson. That's pro day. We'll get into pro days in a second here, but the Jets are taking Zach Wilson at number 2. Therefore, are the 49ers, are they really taking Justin Fields or Trey Lance at number 3? Is that, or Mac Jones? They're not. They didn't mortgage the future for Mac Jones, right? There's no way that happened.
I don't think it's necessarily Mac Jones. I wouldn't be shocked, but I think, and I love the move by San Francisco. The single most valuable commodity in the NFL is a good quarterback on a rookie contract. And the rest of the 49ers roster is loaded. Yeah. They just paid Trent Williams. They don't have a ton of cap space, and the cap space they'll have the next few years is when Jimmy G gets off the books. So if you look 2 years down the line here, so not this coming season, but next season, you let that quarterback sit behind Jimmy G for half the year, develops a la Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith. Let Jimmy G go. He's a free agent after this season. You get that money to spend, and then you have 3 to 4 years of that quarterback who will have an entire year to develop under Kyle Shanahan with the rest of their roster that is loaded and expensive. They have a lot of guys they have to pay on their own roster coming up. So in their mind, what's more valuable? Those 2 first-round picks or a quarterback that they clearly covet on a rookie contract for the next 3 to 4 years so you can pay everyone else like the Seahawks did with Russell Wilson when they were the Legion of Boom and they were able to pay that defense, like the Eagles did with Carson Wentz in his second season when they were able to pay everyone on their roster. And that's why you looked at that Super Bowl and said, yeah, well, the Patriots have Tom Brady versus Nick Foles, but the Eagles roster is way better top to bottom because they were paying Carson Wentz pennies compared to what Tom Brady was paying. So I think it's a great move if they really like one of the quarterbacks. And if there's any coach in the NFL I trust to develop a quarterback, it's Kyle Shanahan. I don't think it'll be Mac Jones. I think that's a lot of smoke screens. But if it is, that's their guy. And if that's who you like, go get him.
It's not Mac Jones. It's Justin Fields. If it's anyone other than Justin Fields, I will be absolutely floored. The only other guy I could see it being is like a Trey Lance, where Kyle Shanahan is.
I think it's Trey Lance.
If he's stroking his ego and he really believes that Trey Lance is this like Lamar Jackson type player.
I think so.
You think if they're going with Trey Lance?
I think they're going to go with Trey Lance, yeah. And I have no intel, but all the Mac Jones stuff sounds like it just feels smoke screeny to me. And I think it's Justin Fields or Trey Lance. And you look at Kyle Shanahan's offense, he hasn't had a mobile quarterback going back to Atlanta. I mean, he had one in Washington with Robert Griffin, and look how creative he was. He hasn't had one in so long, and this running game is still elite, like elite, best in the league elite. You had a semblance of a mobile quarterback back there, and that opens so much more for what they want to do. So I can't see them taking a statue in Mac Jones, but hey, if they like Mac Jones, I have no issue with them taking him if that's who they think is the best quarterback.
Let's just get it out. It's not Mac Jones, all right? Get it through your head. They're not taking Mac Jones.
I agree.
Right, let's get that ridiculous thought through your head. Mac Jones had the single – it was almost impossible for him not to succeed at Alabama. He had the best receiving core maybe in college football history. He had a first-round running back, an incredible offensive line. His receivers had 20 yards of separation in every play. I mean, how could you not thrive in that offense? It's literally impossible not to. Me and you would have been in the conversation for the Heisman Trophy if we had the weapons and the situation that Mac Jones was in last season in Alabama. And that's where I stand on that. By the way, pro days. Let's get to pro days real quick. I can't stand pro days. Pro days have no legitimacy. They are the most overrated things in the history of sports. And if you take a single second of stock into anything that Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence do at a pro day, then you need to get your head examined because watch the game. How do you play in the game? I don't care how fast you are. No, don't pause me. Are you kidding me? Pro days?
Pro days for quarterback?
I am not done. Pro days are a waste of time, and the media coverage and the fact, oh my God, this guy ran a 40. Oh my God, did you see that throw? Holy crap. Like that is such trash. And anyone who buys into that hype is just flawed and a fraud. And I don't want to hear anything you have to say about sports. And I can't believe that you're about to actually sit here and defend them, which is completely laughable. The only thing they're good for is for prospects who are trying to show something for a scout that maybe didn't get a chance to see them. If you're a legitimate prospect, pro days are so irrelevant and they are a waste of time at every conceivable level.
So for quarterbacks, I 100% agree. There is nothing that you could learn about a quarterback that you wouldn't know beforehand. But this year in particular, without the combine, this was their one chance to throw without pads and look great. I will say, as someone who's covered pro days before, for the non-quarterbacks, it is valuable. And a guy like Cullen Gillespie, the 12th man for the Texas A&M Aggies 2 years ago, worked out at pro day, at fullback, at tight end, and at linebacker, and ended up getting drafted because of what he did on pro day in front of those Texan scouts who saw what he could do in a pass-catching position, which he never got a chance to do at A&M. He was purely a fullback and a special teams guy. So I don't think they're completely irrelevant. I think for quarterbacks, the dudes who make any throw, they're not wearing pads, there's no pass rush, they should be perfect, virtually perfect. They're as close to perfect can be. That Zach Wilson throw looks awesome. Zach Wilson's never making that throw in the NFL.
Sam Darnold has made that throw. Sam Darnold has made that throw in a game for a touchdown.
But the one against the 49ers. You're talking about Darnold? That was like a 12-yard slant. Zach Wilson threw that 70 yards in the air. Like it shows off the arm strength, but it does nothing. It shouldn't change your opinion. If you didn't like a quarterback, you're probably not going to like him after a pro day. And if you liked him, it's only going to be like, oh yeah, he threw well, I like him more. I don't think anyone's opinion is truly going to change off a pro day. But I will say for non-quarterbacks, it is a valuable tool for scouts to see, especially for the guys who may have been on the second team in their collegiate career. So like there is some value to it, but I do agree with the fact that Get Up and ESPN and Fox Sports blows these things up and they have live coverage start to finish. It's just because they need content. It's not because it's good content. It's just because they need content.
Right. But, and I understand what you're saying. Just the gushing over Zach Wilson and Justin Fields, like it's just so irrational to me. And listen, like the guys that you're talking about, you know, those unheralded guys that no one really like pays much attention to on a national level. Yes, it is important for them to get to showcase their skills, especially this year where there's no combine. But you don't see coverage of those guys because they're not going to be writing about them. It's more of the scout's job to just do their due diligence. But and it's not something that really has a national appeal. And I agree with you from that standpoint. But in terms of the quarterbacks, like, give me a break. Give me a freaking break about Justin Fields' pro day and how much it actually matters. All right. We got college basketball. The Final Four is set. Gonzaga, UCLA, Baylor, Houston, just like everyone predicted. I obviously everyone and their mother. If you didn't have Gonzaga and Baylor in your Final Four, then you should just never make another bracket the rest of your life because those are the two mortal locks. UCLA shows you why you never make a bracket until Friday morning after the first four games, or where the day of the first games. Wait until the first four games are over. Not that anyone would have predicted UCLA going to the Final Four. I had them probably losing in the first round. And then Houston, I didn't see that coming either. But again,
Houston stinks. They're not even good. It's insane. They're not good.
I mean, so last week I predicted Loyola Chicago would lose. I got that one right, and I predicted that Houston would kick the crap out of Syracuse. So those are my two. I'll hang my hat in those two things.
And I was wrong on both of those. So it just goes to show that you can pick an Abilene Christian over Texas and then really know nothing about college basketball moving forward. It was funny watching that Oregon State Houston Elite Eight game. I just don't think either team's very good. Like, clearly Houston is good, but Houston should have lost to Rutgers in the second round. It took a ridiculous Rutgers choke job for them to get past the Scarlet Knights in the second round. And they're a really good rebounding team. I don't think they do anything else particularly well offensively. And I think Baylor's going to smoke them. And on the other side, what's the line? 13.5 for Gonzaga? If it was 21, I'd take Gonzaga in the points. Gonzaga is going to blow UCLA out of the gym. It's been an unbelievable run for the Bruins, and Mick Cronin's done an awesome job, and that team deserves all the credit for getting to where they have because they've beaten – I mean, it's been a gauntlet of teams that they've had to beat to get to this stage. But at the same time, man, Gonzaga looks so damn good. And it has been Gonzaga and Baylor as the top two teams in college basketball from day one of this season. From the very first day of the season, it was Gonzaga and it was Baylor, 1-2 in some sort of order. And it's not the sexy championship matchup. There's no real national appeal for either Gonzaga or Baylor. But that was a game we were supposed to see in December that got canceled due to COVID. And I am praying that we get a chance to see it again on a national championship stage, because how rarely do we get to see the two best teams in the country actually meet in the national championship, Frank? I feel like 1 out of every 10 years, maybe it's a little more frequently, 1 out of every 7, that the two best teams actually survive to that point, the way the bracket's set up. So one's on one side, one's on the other. It just doesn't happen very often. And I feel like the stars have aligned that in a crazy COVID year where nothing seems to make sense, we have a chance to get the most logical 1 versus 2 matchup we've seen in a while play for it all on Monday night.
By the way, it's a lock. It's going to be Baylor and Gonzaga. Do you know what a moneyline parlay pays out for those two teams?
Is it mine? It can't be minus money.
It's minus 169 at last year.
Seriously?
Free money. Isn't it free money?
If this was a random Tuesday night, I'd say yes. In the tournament, like what's Gonzaga money? Like, what's the Gonzaga money line? Minus 400?
Minus 1100.
1100. Oh. I would take it. There's no way Gonzaga. That's free money.
What you really should do is you should do Baylor money line, and then Gonzaga do like an alternate spread, like -5.5, and then that'll probably be like +125, and then you'd be golden after that. But yeah, I'm probably gonna do a little money line parlay with that because it's Baylor Gonzaga. The whole season's been building up for that, and I'd be shocked if it. Again, who am I to say that? But whatever. All right, let's finish up with the Brooklyn Nets. After the disappointment of the Yankees on Thursday, the Brooklyn Nets did what they've been doing over the past 23 games, 20-3, the best 23-game stretch in franchise history. LaMarcus Aldridge made his debut. Kevin Durant was out. James Harden was out. Blake Griffin was out. And they did not miss a beat, absolutely obliterating the fourth place Charlotte Hornets, 111.
Crazy.
LaMarcus Aldridge was great. 11 points, 9 rebounds, tied a season high with 6 assists. They were running the offense through him, which was crazy. In his first game, it looked like he's been there all year. I mean, this team is just a freight train right now. And I was listening last night to the Bill Simmons podcast with he had John Jastrzemski on, who I'm a huge fan of, and he was talking about
podcast, very good podcast.
I'm a huge fan of Jastrzemski, and I'm already subscribed to this podcast on The Ringer. I think he's fantastic. Either way, he was basically making the point that like I'm so sick of like this like Knicks, like it's a Knicks town, and no matter how good the Nets are, it's still gonna. I don't care about that. I'm just excited for watching this team and these players, and I'm just they're the favorites to win the title for the first time in franchise history. It's never happened, and I'm just over the moon excited.
So Knicks fans say it's a Knicks town when they have nothing else to claim to. Just like if the Mets are ever good and the Yankees are bad, the Yankees are like, oh, it's a Yankees town. No one cares. It is what you say when your team just has nothing to measure up against to the opponent. In this case, the Knicks versus the Nets. I did not see the game yesterday, but I did see the highlights and read a couple of recap articles. And you look at this team, they're deep. And they're almost too deep in the sense that come a serious playoff series, like a game they have to win, like they're only going to play 8 or 9 guys. They have 12 or 13 guys who legitimately deserve NBA minutes. I mean, like Nick Claxton has proved he's a legitimate NBA player. And he might be their 4th big in a playoff series, depending on the matchup, after DJ, Blake, and Aldridge. Now, that's a good thing to have in some cases where you have a lot of different options, and based on matchup, you could pick or choose who you want in that certain situation. But even on the wing, they're going to have guys. Bruce Brown's going to struggle to get into the game, and we love Bruce Brown. Like Bruce Brown's awesome, but I don't know where he fits in with some of these other lineups. I think it's a thing, not a thing, but a testament to what Steve Nash is building here in Brooklyn, where it's not easy to get guys to come in and accept lesser roles and know, hey, some games we're going to need you to score 20 points, and other games we're going to need you to sit on the bench and be supportive of your teammates. But you look at how seamless Aldridge has been, brought into this forefront. Blake Griffin looks like a different player than he did in Detroit. And Claxton hadn't had more than 7 NBA games before this year, and comes in and he feels like he's the best big in the league, trying to guard Damian Lillard one-on-one on the perimeter and doing a halfway decent job at it at times. So I think it's a testament to Steve Nash. I think it's a testament to Sean Marks for building a roster that isn't just a big 3 like we saw in Miami those first couple of years with Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh, where their bench was literally useless. And I think it only bodes well. The more time, and Durant, I'm now officially worried about Durant. Like we talked a couple weeks ago, that panic. Like I am worried now. Frank, hand up, like very worried about Kevin Durant's hamstring. But the more he's out, the more it lets some of these other guys play and find their niche and their role within this team. And that, I think, only helps them moving forward. So, yeah, I'm freaking ecstatic. Literally over the moon ecstatic.
If Durant's not back on Sunday, he'll be back next week. That is a lock. The fact that they're allowing him to speak to the media now, that just shows that he's close. And Steve Nash has been on the record that if this was the playoffs, he would have been playing like a week or 2 ago. So I think that he's sort of over. I think he's ready to return. They're just being, at this point, extra cautious. But in terms of Blake Griffin, he is, you would think that a dude that's been like through the amount of injuries he had, I mean, he is diving after everything. He's like playing like a reckless abandon. And I almost like would like, hey, calm down. Like, take a chill pill on the court, because we can't have you like diving for a ball and like getting hurt again. But I think the whole so many guys at this stage, like Aldridge jumping on board, Blake Griffin, they all want a championship. Like they're so over like making these huge contracts, and it's not about that. It's about winning, and that's what the beauty of this year and of this team, and like because they're at the stage now where it's all about winning because they haven't not so many of these guys haven't won. I mean, Kyrie and Durant have won, but no one else on the roster has ever won, and that's all their main focus right now. Obviously, when you get to next year, the year after, assuming the Nets win this year, that's when you start getting the whole ego stuff starts to really play a role, and that's when you see these teams sort of disintegrate like the Warriors did. But right now, just enjoy the ride, and I just love how everyone on the team is bought in on the goal of winning a championship, and that's what you absolutely love to see.
I have a question for you. What is the Nets record when they wear those beautiful, beautiful baby blue uniforms?
I have no idea. All I know is that they're like 22-2 in the last 24 games without Durant. It's crazy. He's played in one game since since February.
And he is when healthy the second best player in the league, in my opinion. Second or third best player in the league. And they're doing this. The Nets are doing this without their best player. And James Harden has been unbelievable. He's not as good as Kevin Durant. He's not. Like, that's just it's not an opinion. It's a fact. Kevin Durant is a better basketball player than James Harden. And the margin's not this big. It's, narrow. But the Nets are 22-2 without their best player. And he's only coming back, which, you said you're ecstatic. I said I'm over the moon. Like, that should get you more excited than anything else.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like there's no way they could be like can they be better than this when they get Durant back? So I mean, it's almost
yes. The answer is yes. You add Kevin Durant to any team, they're going to be better. Yes.
So a lot to look forward to with the Brooklyn Nets. Can't say the same for the New York Yankees. Back in action on Saturday. That'll do it for this edition of the Lucas podcast. You know where to find me on Twitter at Lucas Frankel, him at @AgsTags_Lucas. See you next week, everybody.